Maybe you've never told anyone, but deep down, you've always known. There's something different about you, something unique in your essence, a presence that's always been with you, a silent force that protects you, and today you're about to understand why. Some marks don't appear by accident. Those mysterious lines in the palm of your hand, like the letter M or the crescent moon symbol, are not mere coincidences. They are spiritual keys, sacred seals. And if you bear them, know this: there is a calling on your life, a calling that can no longer be ignored. You were chosen, not for an ordinary life, not to simply follow the crowd, but for something far greater, to fulfill a divine mission of light in a world that is falling deeper into darkness. You are part of a silent yet powerful army, the spiritual warriors of Michael, the ones who are marked to protect, awaken, guide, and endure. But be warned, this is not a path for the faint of heart. To carry the light is also to carry the weight of spiritual warfare. The warriors of Archangel Michael were not chosen for comfort, but for courage. And if throughout your life you felt like you didn't fit in, if you felt the urge to protect others, if you've picked up on energies no one else could feel, then you were already being trained for this mission, even without knowing it. From this moment forward, your awareness will expand. You'll begin to understand why you've gone through so many trials. You'll discover what it truly means to be a shield of light in a time of shadows. And more importantly, you'll learn how to strengthen yourself, take your position, and fulfill your role in this invisible but very real battle. But before we continue, answer the call. Comment the number 99 below as a clear sign that you accept this mission and align yourself with the light. Subscribe to the channel right now, because the revelations to come could completely transform your spiritual journey. You felt it. You've always felt it. Now it's time to acknowledge it. The war has already begun, and those who carry the seal of Michael will never walk alone. Let's move forward. Receiving the call of Archangel Michael is not a symbolic honor. It is a true summons, a spiritual commitment that requires presence, awareness, and action. To be a warrior of light means becoming an invisible fortress, capable of holding and transmuting the forces that seek to destabilize what is sacred. And this mission begins with protection. Spiritual protection is not something theoretical or distant. It is a lived, felt reality, and it is demanded from those who were chosen. Whoever carries the light must also carry the shield. Your energy does not belong to you alone. It influences, transforms, and protects everything around you. Sometimes, without even realizing it, your mere presence already pushes away evil. The peace you carry silences storms. Your silence heals. Your light dissipates the heaviness that many cannot see, but that presses down, oppresses, and weakens those who have not yet awakened. If you feel that people seek you out for comfort, guidance, or simply because they feel lighter around you, it's not by chance. It is a clear manifestation of your spiritual role. It's confirmation that your vibration is already aligned with your mission. But along with this gift comes the responsibility to protect what is precious. Many warriors become spiritually ill because they don't know how to preserve themselves. They allow their energy to be drained, wear themselves out trying to carry burdens that don't belong to them, and end up unprotected in the invisible field. Light needs support. The gift needs structure. You cannot offer protection if you are unarmed. You cannot save anyone if you are vulnerable. The spiritual preparation of a warrior of Michael is constant. It is done in the silence of the soul, in the firmness of faith, in the discipline of the mind. Prayer must not be an automatic act, but a living connection. Meditation should not be a refuge, but a realignment. Vigilance over thoughts, words, and emotions becomes part of the path, because every crack that opens can be used by the forces of darkness to undermine your mission. Those who were marked with the mission to protect were not chosen by chance. They were trained in silence, shaped by pain, and strengthened through their falls. How many times have you felt alone, facing inner wars that no one seemed to understand? How many times have you endured pain that seemed to have no source? Those moments were part of your preparation. Every tear shed strengthened your shield. Every dark night shaped your light. The true warrior does not wait for the attack to take a stand. They feel the movement of darkness even before it manifests. And when necessary, they rise as a wall, not to confront with violence, but to stand with strength. Not to defeat with hate, but to protect with love. If you have lived through experiences where it felt like you absorbed the suffering of others, If you've noticed that your presence transforms heavy environments into spaces of relief, if you've felt that you carry something inside that you can't explain, something that drives you to protect what is just, true, and divine, then you are already acting as a living shield. Even without knowing, your soul has already answered the call. Archangel Michael does not choose the strongest by the world's standards. He chooses those who have the courage to continue even when everything seems to fall apart. Those who fall, but rise again. Those who do not give up on the light, even when darkness seems to prevail. If you are called, it's because that strength already lives within you. The first step in fulfilling your mission is to recognize your spiritual worth. To know that your energy is a sacred instrument, and that you have the duty to protect it. It's not about isolating yourself, but about strengthening yourself. It's not about fleeing from the world, but about learning to walk through it as a bearer of light. The true battle has already begun, and your presence here is proof that the light is not alone. Amid the silent chaos that hangs over the world, there are those who walk without knowing where they are. Their souls are wrapped in a fog of confusion, fear, and pain. They are men and women fighting spiritual battles without even understanding the field they're in, and that is why the warriors of Archangel Michael have been called. They don't only fight against darkness, they also protect those who don't even realize they're in danger. If you were chosen, know that your mission extends beyond yourself. You are a guardian, a point of light in the midst of darkness, an invisible shelter for those who no longer have the strength to fight. And words are not always necessary to fulfill that purpose. Your presence is enough. Your vibration is enough. There are people who, without understanding why, are drawn to you in their most fragile moments. They come for a shoulder to lean on, for advice, or for a silent presence. They seek the peace they feel by your side, even if they can't explain it. This happens because your soul carries an energy field that draws those in need of help. Your essence radiates something that calms, that guides, that protects. And that more than a gift is a mission. But protecting the fragile does not mean carrying the weight of the world on your own. To be a true beacon, you must keep your own flame lit. You cannot light the way for others if your own light has gone out. You need to take care of yourself, strengthen your spiritual foundation, and preserve the clarity of your soul. Those with a compassionate heart and awakened intuition are at risk of losing themselves by trying to save everyone around them. But the true warrior knows that to guide is not to carry, to protect is not to absorb. Those who are called by Michael often discover their mission in the simplest gestures, in a conversation that brings relief, in a presence that inspires trust, in a silence that soothes. There is no need to convince, no need to force. The light that lives within you speaks for itself. It guides, it transforms, it protects. In your family, you may be the one who tries to hold the peace when everything falls apart. Among friends, you may be the one everyone turns to in hard times. At work, you may be the point of balance where tension rises. That's not random. It's part of your role in this invisible battle. And even if you often feel tired, alone, or misunderstood, know that a greater force is holding you. Michael never sends his warriors without protection. Wherever you are, he is there. And where he is, no dark force can touch you. So even when the mission feels hard, remember, you were not called by accident. And those who come to you, even silently, are being guided by the light you carry. Your mission is great, but your strength is even greater. Among all the missions entrusted to the warriors of Archangel Michael, one requires rare sensitivity and a quiet inner strength, to be light for those still walking in darkness. It's not just about fighting the shadows that threaten the spiritual world, but about guiding, with wisdom and compassion, those who have lost the meaning of their journey. Many people live disconnected from their essence. They are immersed in empty routines, drowning in doubts, pain, and fears they can't even name. They look at life as if wandering through a maze with no way out. They don't know what they're searching for. They don't know who they are. And above all, they don't know how to return to the light. It's in that exact moment that the warrior becomes a guide, not through force, not with spiritual arrogance, but through presence. A guide does not show the path by pointing outward. He lives the path. He becomes the path. And because of that, he draws in those who, even unconsciously, long to rediscover their own light. If you've noticed that people seek your advice without you offering, if they confide in you without much closeness, if they feel comforted simply by being near you, there is a clear reason. Your energy reveals ancient knowledge, a spiritual wisdom not taught in books, but carried in the soul of those who were marked with the mission to guide. But it's important to understand that guiding is not about leading someone by the hand. It's about lighting the space so the other can see for themselves. Many times, you'll be called to simply listen. At other times, to speak only a few words, but ones that carry the exact power to touch the heart of the one before you. In certain moments, you will simply be the example. The way you handle challenges will, in itself, be the needed guidance. Don't expect gratitude, nor recognition. The true guide serves the light, not the ego. Often, those you help won't even realize how deeply they've been touched by your presence, but the universe sees. And Archangel Michael knows exactly where his silent warriors are fulfilling their mission. If you carry the mark of the crescent moon or the letter M on your hands, know that this sensitivity runs even deeper. These marks are reminders etched into your skin that you accepted this mission before you were even born. They are visible signs of a spiritual pact made with the higher plane. And that's why, even when everything feels difficult, there is something within you that pushes you forward to keep serving, to keep shining, to keep guiding. It's possible that along your journey, you'll encounter resistance. Some will reject your guidance, others will mock your faith. There will be moments when you'll wonder if you're making any difference at all. But remember, all light attracts both those seeking healing and those living in denial. Your mission is not to convince anyone. It is to remain faithful to the light within you. And when darkness seems to choke the path of those around you, remember that your presence can be the spark that reignites hope. You don't need to carry everyone on your shoulders, but you can show them that a safe path exists, a path of peace, a path that leads back to their true essence. And the truth is, sometimes all a lost soul needs is a look that sees them, a word that encourages them, or a presence that reminds them that the light still exists. There are many who walk through life without knowing what they're searching for. They live trapped in automatic routines, immersed in fears they don't understand, carrying emptiness they can't seem to fill. These souls are not lost by choice. They were slowly pulled away from their true essence, led astray by wounds, traumas, disappointments, and illusions that built up over time. And now, they live disconnected from the light, as if a fog had covered everything that once was clear. This is exactly why the warriors of Archangel Michael are so necessary, because there is a calling greater than battle, the call to guide those who no longer know where they are, to lead with strength, but with gentleness, to extend a hand without dragging, to point the way without forcing anyone to follow. The true spiritual warrior does not impose their light, they share it. They understand that each soul has its own time, its own rhythm, its own awakening process. Forcing someone to see is not the warrior's task. The mission is to keep the torch lit visible, steady, so that when the other is ready, they can finally see the path. That guidance begins with example. There is no speech more powerful than silent conduct. When you hold on to your faith, even in the face of trials, when you respond with calm where many would panic, when you remain faithful to the truth even when it costs you relationships, you are guiding. You are teaching without saying a word. You are revealing with your life what it means to be connected to the light. Listening is also a powerful gift. Often those who are lost don't need immediate answers, but someone who listens with empathy, someone who doesn't judge, who doesn't try to fix, who is simply present. Michael's warrior knows how to recognize that moment, knows how to remain silent when needed, knows when silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. Sharing what has been learned throughout the journey is also part of the mission, not to exalt oneself, but to offer what was once received. Perhaps what you discovered through pain can now help someone avoid suffering. Perhaps your breakthrough will inspire someone who is about to give up. Every experience you've lived was not in vain. It's part of your spiritual arsenal, and now it must be used with wisdom. And there are still those who, even unconsciously, are drawn to you seeking protection. Sensitive souls, but still without direction. People who don't understand what they feel, but who are drawn to your presence, as if recognizing something familiar, something safe, something that reminds them of the peace they've lost. This is one of the most subtle and profound forms of the warrior's mission, to be a shelter for those who do not yet know how to build their own spiritual refuge. If you carry the mark of the crescent moon or the letter M on your hands, it's possible this ability is even more awakened in you. These marks are not decorations, they are spiritual symbols, reminders that your soul was prepared to guide, protect, and serve. And even if the world doesn't recognize it right away, the higher realms know exactly who you are. They know the role you came here to fulfill. But always remember, To guide does not mean to save. Every soul has its own path, and not all will be ready for the light when you appear. Some will reject your help, others will mock your faith. That's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that their time has not yet come. You must continue. Keep guiding with love, but without carrying burdens that are not yours. True guidance is light. It is respectful, it is silent when needed, but it is firm. Because there is no greater act of spiritual love than being available to guide those who are lost even when it requires sacrifice, patience, and surrender. And if, upon hearing these words, you feel this mission beating in your heart, then know this: you are already guiding, even if you don't realize it yet. On the great invisible stage where the forces of the universe move, there is a constant dance between light and darkness, between creation and destruction, between order and chaos. This duality is part of the structure of existence, but in specific moments throughout the spiritual history of humanity, that balance is threatened. And when that happens, those chosen by Archangel Michael are called to step in. The mission of a spiritual warrior is not limited to confronting darkness. It goes beyond that. He is a guardian of balance, a silent pillar that sustains the vibration of light even when the world seems to lean toward collapse. His role is to keep alive the harmony that upholds everything sacred. And this task, though invisible to the world's eyes, is one of the most noble and necessary of all. Maintaining balance does not mean living in constant peace. On the contrary, it's in moments of tension, conflict, and darkness that the guardian reveals himself. He is the one who remains unshaken when everyone else falls apart. The one who holds on to faith when hopelessness tries to creep in. The one who, even feeling the weight of the world, refuses to let that weight pull him away from his purpose. That balance begins within. A weakened warrior cannot uphold high vibrations around him. That's why caring for one's own energy is not a luxury. It's a spiritual necessity. Staying connected to the light, avoiding emotional contamination, quieting the mind when needed, preserving the spirit's integrity, all of this is the foundation that allows you to become a point of stability wherever you are. Have you ever noticed how some environments feel heavier than others? Have you felt the energy of a place shift after your arrival? Have you spent time with people consumed by fear or conflict, only to see them begin to calm down without knowing why? That's not coincidence. It's your presence silently acting as an instrument of balance. It's the power of Michael's warrior in action. Many who carry the mark of the crescent moon, or the letter M on their hands, hold this mission even more intensely. They are like spiritual anchors in places where the light is close to going out. And though they receive no medals or applause, it is they who prevent the planet's energy from falling into spiritual collapse. It is they who sustain the vibration of compassion, truth, and faith when fear tries to dominate. But in order to maintain this stability, one must understand the invisible attacks that seek to destabilize the guardians. The opposing forces operate with subtlety. They don't shout or announce their arrival. They whisper, slowly. They cause fatigue without reason. They create conflict where there once was peace. They bring distractions disguised as opportunities. They plant doubt, discouragement, urgency, and noise. That's why the guardian must remain vigilant. Consciousness must be awake. The spirit must be strong. And above all, the commitment to the light must come before any temporary comfort. To be a guardian of balance requires sacrifice. Often, it requires silence. At times, it requires firm positioning. But always, without exception, it requires surrender. There may be moments when you feel as if you're fighting an invisible war. One no one sees, no one acknowledges, no one understands. But know this: the heavens are watching. And Archangel Michael knows every act of courage you display, even in silence. Because every effort you make to sustain harmony around you echoes into dimensions you cannot yet perceive. When you hold your vibration steady in the face of pain, you are balancing. When you choose peace over conflict, you are balancing. When you refuse to feed the darkness with words of hate or actions of vengeance, you are balancing. Your role is vital, and your light, even when it feels fragile, reaches farther than you can imagine. The universe is always adjusting, and you, as a guardian, are a key part of that process. No matter how difficult the mission becomes, never forget, the power within you is greater than any shadow that dares to approach. And as long as you remain steady, the balance will continue to be preserved. If you've made it this far, it's not by chance. There's something within you that recognizes this truth, a silent, persistent voice that has been whispering for a long time. You've been called to something greater, called to remember who you truly are. The warriors of Archangel Michael do not appear by accident. They are prepared in silence, forged through pain, refined in their falls, and strengthened in spiritual deserts. They don't stand out for their appearance, but for their presence. They aren't recognized by the world, but they are identified by celestial forces. And you, who have heard every word until now, know deep in your soul that you are part of this silent legion, walking among men as pillars of light in the midst of darkness. The responsibilities you carry are not a burden. They are a gift. The spiritual protection you offer those around you is like an invisible shield. The battle you fight against forces that seek to unbalance the world is an act of courage that echoes through higher realms. The guidance you offer to the lost is a beacon that restores direction. And the balance you maintain, even without recognition, is what prevents chaos from taking over. But the greatest battle doesn't happen out there. It unfolds within you. It's the fight against doubt, against fear, against the exhaustion of feeling like no one sees what you see, like no one understands the weight you carry. It's in that invisible space of the soul that the true warrior is tested. And it is exactly there that Michael reaches out his hand, silently reminding you, you are not alone. There is a force that surrounds you. There's a light that walks with you. There's an entire army breathing beside you every time you choose to keep going, even when everything seems to fall apart. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to remain steady, aligned, surrendered. Now, there is a choice to make. Are you willing to fully embrace who you are? Are you ready to let go of every doubt and respond clearly to this calling that pulses within your spirit? If so, then this is your moment. As a visible sign in the spiritual realm that you've heard and accepted this calling, comment the number 99 below. This number, filled with purpose, represents not just awakening, but commitment to your mission. Let each comment be a flame igniting a confirmation that the warriors are uniting. And if this message touched your soul deeply, subscribe to the channel now. Here, you'll continue to receive spiritual guidance, revelations, and messages that will strengthen each step of your journey. You don't have to walk this path alone. The time for hesitation is over. The universe is moving. Heaven is on alert. And those who have been called are already being gathered. Archangel Michael goes before us, and those who say yes, walk with him. The battle is not over, but the victory has already begun.